Hey guys, Bolt here. Okay, take two. I ran away with this video last time, and I need to avoid it this time around. As the title suggests, we're back for Five Nights at Freddy's. Last time I did a Five Nights at Freddy's video, I said I didn't want to do this stuff, and this video is kind of like an explanation why. So things like dual processing has making a lot of theories. Ever since MatPat left, there's been a lot of shots in the dark. There's a lot of theories that oh, that makes sense. That's actually interesting. They actually did things like they wanted to use Cassidy as Cece's name, which the crying child makes a lot of sense. If you guys don't know what it is, crying child, Cece is from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, The Bite of 83, and we believe his spirit has moved on to Golden Freddy / Fredbear, and that there's another spirit that talks to him via the logbook we see, where you would see just Mike doodling throughout the thing, which is Michael Afton, but you would see two different texts in different shadings and altered. One would be asking questions, trying to bring a memory back or a thought back to the other entity, which we know the other entity is Cece, because in the things like the party is for me, which backs to a dialogue in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and in the end of a crossword, there's a lot of text that says, "What is your name? What is this? If you look in the mirror, what do you see?" And it's supposed to basically say, "Look at yourself, Cece. What is your name?" It is asking Cece what is their name, and I believe Cassidy would be a perfect identity for the Cece. And I think the one you should not have killed is to be left alone for now. And that's another thing that I will say. That is one thing I do not like about dual process. They're fine. I see where they're coming from, but dual process made it to where we are forgetting. We're just going to go ahead and forget that fifth victim that is known as the one you should not have killed, who we thought was Cassidy for the longest time. We're just going to go ahead and forget about them, and only Cece is going to be in Golden Freddy, and somehow, some way, Charlie is attached to Golden Freddy. I'm sorry? So you're telling me Charlie just up and leaves the puppet to come to Golden Freddy / Fredbear every once in a great while to get Fred? No. What I think is happening in the dialogue scenarios, or the conversation between Cece and the puppet, is the puppet looks over everyone. It's the protector. So the unmovable, since there's no animatronic or the weird spring locks situation with Golden Freddy / Fredbear is happening, the puppet has to go find and talk to them as they're stuck in some kind of back room or something, and it's just I have come to throw you back into your past and try to have you remember stuff. I'm here to try to be that other person to talk to. There's also things like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie where they all can have a little landscape / spiritual dimension to talk to one another. And that is kind of the best explanation for the talking. But the thing that I really hate about that theory, and I think a lot of people are starting to try to do something like that, I'm going to shoot the theory down real quick. They basically, what they are saying is that William Afton, after the Bite of 83, would out of nowhere try to use he'd go out of rage, kill Susie, put him into Chica. Notice that Chica got possessed, So he would try to recreate it using Foxy, and then Freddy and Bonnie at the same time, and then realize that it's a decent process. Take Cece from the hospital, get them to the Golden Freddy, and stuff them. I'm sorry, but even in the 80s, there were security detail. There were cameras. And they said, William was able to get out of getting arrested and get out of the MCI, court case by saying his child went missing. He's just a part of he's seeing the problem himself. No, I'm sorry, but every doctor, there's probably going to be a cop by that hospital that is going to stop that father from taking a half-conscious body / half-dead body out of the hospital. In the state that his body was without proper hospital equipment, he's not going to survive for long out exposed. So, not to mention, you're just not going to get away with it. Just like they're going to stop you, and if he's just going to try to talk his way out of, his son being taken away, they can just look back at the hospital cameras. Hey, look back and see what happened with Cece. Oh, it was William just taking him out of the hospital. Hey, William, where's your son? That takes that out. And then also it's just the fact that you're saying, let's forget a victim. There are so many victims at this point. The fun times go and capture people. If we're using the books, things like Lonely Freddy happened, where they just basically snatched the soul, put the soul in the animatronics, and the animatronic's consciousness transfers to the human. Or Phasgu, where they just literally clone the human being and melt the human being down. That is basically a non-stop massacre based on just the products and William Afton's thing. And also William Afton killed another 5 kids at the toy animatronic place. Like, we've at this point guaranteed that NCI has happened at the Withered location. The toy location had another 5 kids based on the Save Them minigame. So you're telling me that we're just going to forget about those, forget about the books, forget about all this stuff, which you're also pointing through using the books, that William isn't a complete psychopath at this point, and that he's just using these little experiment to try to save his kid. Not gonna work. And also you're telling me you're forgetting a child who, we've seen, we don't know if the face from Ultimate Custom is supposed to be the one you should not have killed's face at this point, but it's also just like, you're telling me that this entire thing is from the one you should not have killed, which, if we're saying this is William, and we're saying the one you should not have killed is in the same thing as Cece, Cece was not killed by William. And if you're going to tell me Mike is in that seat, that'd be understandable, but the community is saying that Mike is not that one. And also it's like, half of the other animatronics, if there's more spirits than just the one you should not have killed, they wouldn't be attacking Michael. It doesn't make sense. And then it's also just you're telling me that like I said, no hospital is gonna let this kid go missing, so you can't put Cece as a missing kid. Not to mention, the reports mention that the 5 kids went missing from Freddy's. So the fact that you're telling me Cece is a part of that, that would not situate itself with it. And it would just be known as the 4 missing kids. And then also the fact that if you want to throw in Charlie, she was left there to die. It was a drive-by death. And the body was left there. So she can't be a missing thing. Not to mention Henry knew about his daughter's death. So you're telling me that we have no evidence of why there's no 5, no 5th, and that makes a huge hole in it. But moving on, it's just that kind of thought process. What I think is happening is that we are in a point where we are trying to get hints and clues to what happened in the old games, but we're also getting clues in things for the new games. So it's like there's 2 different eras. There's Five Nights at Freddy's 1 to Pizza Sim / Ultimate Custom Night, where it's basically like, to kind of run through it, it's just like the first game is just, hey, there's a shady past to this place. Hey, the second game is showing that past through mini games, and that little bite of 87 that happens in a phone call, that happens at the very end of the game. And then Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is just, hey, the killer got what he deserved, and the spirits came for their revenge, and based on the good ending, they were able to get set free. And then Five Nights at Freddy's 4, because the third one was not scary enough, it was literally just saying, hey, let's introduce a little bit of Fredbears, and let's show that era. But then we have to introduce this kid who just happens to be another Bite of 83 situation. And I think Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is the one game, if you're trying to explain the story piece by piece, it is the one to fall apart, because Dream Theory is the one thing that I think Scott said Matt was right about, well, very close to, which was just through the trauma of seeing all these things happen, CC had became a nightmare, or in his comatose state, he imagined the first 3 games. But that's been retconned now. Now we have to actually explain it as that's just this criminal's son who got killed by one of the original mascots, and somehow we have to put that in the part of the story where either he died before everything happened, or he died during sometime during or after the MCI, which is the missing children's incident. And it's the most annoying one to deal with. Like, yes, it's nice to see Fredbears. It's nice to explain that William had a family, and either this, like, losing his family members ended up making him, like, go insane and become a psychopath. Or it's just, hey, he was always up to no good since the beginning. And then Sister Location is kind of more, like, if you look at the books, Sister Location is the one that, like, calls everyone who thinks William is just some guy who's just depressed, sad, and he's just trying to get his family back together. He's only killed so many just to get some scientific things. Back to my whole thing about the massacre, the Funtime animatronics brought several kids to get Remnant from. Not to mention, we're also saying that William Afton had a daughter who we got hinted at during Five Nights at Freddy's 4, but now she's dead in this other animatronic that we're just now getting introduced to. And then we're also trying to, based on stuff that happened in Pizza Sim, and, like, some little evidence through books and this game is saying that MCI got molded down and separated into these new animatronics. One, bullcrap. I will say the molten MCI does not hold up, because now you're telling me that all these animatronics that should have been built together because they were all at this one place, you're telling me that there are parts of the MCI in Circus Baby? Because if you're going to make it all metal together and just throw them all together, you have to include Baby in the production. That makes no sense. Now you're telling me that there's bits of parts of MCI and Elizabeth in there? Makes no sense. And then, also, it happened before. Anything could happen from that. The original characters existed until like very close to William's death. And you gotta say that Elizabeth has died pretty early in the timeline because of how young she was when she got clawed out by Baby. In Sister Location, introducing new characters that didn't need to be introduced, just to say, hey, this guy had a family, and based on his like job description and his new mentality on trying to like get Remnant, you ruined it. And then Pizza Sim is literally just Henry comes back, says, let's finish it all, let's kill the demon, let's re-release all the souls, including my daughter, and let's cut down Fazbear Entertainment so it can just be forgotten. And then Ultimate Custom Night is literally the demon in his own personal hell getting tortured over and over again, and then, you know, that one spirit trying to get his revenge. That era, else than foreign Sister Location, it feels very boxed together, and like, yes, we don't have every single detail, but the story is pretty clear. Just, hey, there's some deaths, this guy either was insane or wanted to get his family back together, and he ended up taking it too far that he ended up becoming his own like horrific creations, and his business partner down the line ends up knocking out his, like, erasing his mistakes, erasing the history, and freeing and getting everyone like dealt with. That was the nicest thing. It's just 4 in Sister Location introducing characters that were not needed. Like, yes, Charlie is a pretty good add-in because, hey, one of the, you know, this nice owner, he had a child. He lost him. That child became the puppet, one of the biggest parts of the franchise. Who is the protector, the guardian of the spirits? He's the one who tries to save them all. He's the one who tries to give them a better life. Well, not a better life, but an extended one. Like, hey, you died pretty young. Let me give you the years that you probably were not gonna get now. But it's just, hey, Cece, you're now the son of William Afton, who's the killer. Let's give him either a motivation or just it exists. Hey, Circus Baby, I invented you to take Remnant. Oops, there goes my daughter that, based on the books, I didn't care about. And that's another thing, bringing the books into it, especially the trilogy of Silver Eyes. You just forget about his family at this point. If you really want to take the evidence of William Afton in Silver Eyes trilogy, he's literally just ruthless. Once he realizes that you can, based on your emotions and this tragic stuff and like spiritual energy, once you understand it, it'll be eternal life basically. And he was like, it's like a project of just like, I think in the first one he was like, he held the location as a trophy, and I think that's what we see in the movie. And in the movie, it's like, I'm proud of this location. I get to get a lot of people killed in the end, and it's just a factory of death there. And then, you know, he gets spring locked. He comes back in the second one. He's happy that he's just like his other creations, and he has eternal life now. And he is their friend, and he is the leader. And then the third one, it's literally like, all right, that was agony, but I would like to be like as a one singular being with my trophies, which are these 4 or 5 other kids. I don't think we got to see Golden Freddy get put into the mass, but we know for sure Freddy, Bonnie, Chicken, and Foxy were just molted together. Which, yet again, that supports the molten MCI, but it still doesn't make sense. So it's just like, through the old era of like the original Scott games, it's literally just this guy realizes that there's a way to have an eternal life, and he tries his best to like through snuffing out little lives, he just really wants to be alive for he wants to become an immortal. And then the new era is literally just, hey, this new technology is so advanced that it's trying to replicate our actions, which, based on human nature, is very violent. So they take our violent tendencies and repeat it back to us. So death and injuries happen, just like in the old days. And introducing things like glitch trap, which I think we're basically saying is just a random corruption that just exists to it is just a very advanced AI that was created to learn behaviors, and it found a history of William and replicated his behavior and ended up trying to return to the real world and affect the real world, where the mimic is literally just he was trained to disassemble things, and he's gonna disassemble you now. That's basically what the new era is: AI technology. If you want to introduce the books where it's just like Fazgoo and stuff, these are products that probably William Afton made to get more remnant, and Fazbear Entertainment without Henry and William is a very shady business through and through. Even with the CEO of the owner, the head of Freddy Fazbear's Entertainment, who I think is the one from Security Breach. The boss is very greedy, and he gets affected too, but it's just how shady it is. They're willing to do anything for the highest buck. So the fact that it's just oh, there's this neat little Fazgoo that can duplicate stuff. Let's just use that. Oh, some people died. Oh well, let's just cover it up. Oh, this thing snatched your soul and our thing is broken now. Oh, we can replace it pretty quickly. That's basically how it is. It's just the new era is either Fazbear Entertainment constantly screwing up by introducing killing machines or things that are not perfected into entertainment standards. Like the fact that Roxy and Monty are just made to be rock stars, but they get a little aggressive with the idea of fame. That's their things. And then there's Chica, who's the whole thing about food, and she becomes a glutton. And Freddy, I think, is fine because he's just the big old oaf, the star of the show. He tries to be nice to everyone. So I think that's the confusion, is just we're making new stuff to introduce new clues. But the thing is, you're jamming both eras together. We're learning once about, Into the Pit, we're learning about, small, possible details about the MCI. But then a few books later, we're introducing the fact that, hey, this stuff can hold up against, Glitch Trap and, or we're introducing, multiple other Fazbear Entertainment things that are, building towards the newer era. That's the issue. And then I think in Tales of the Pizzaplex, they did a lot more on the new era stuff, but they do have a few callbacks to older stuff. And that's a big issue. And then also yes, Silver Eyes you can't keep jumping back to, but you gotta look at it and be I'm sorry, but you're telling me that the MCI exists, the nightmares exist, Circus Baby kind of issue stuff happens, and now we're getting introduced to a few things that were just little details. There's a carnival, there's a cavern, there's a whole forgotten side to Fazbear Entertainment, and we're reintroducing that here in the later times. And I think if anyone who has any contact with anyone who's at Steel Wool Scott or anyone that has any actual pull on Finance Freddy's, there needs to be a divide. Fazbear Frights should have been only to support the OG Scott Cawthon era, where Tales of the Pizzaplex should have been more fleshing out of the newer stuff. But it's just, hey, there's these little details that can be used for, like, there's some details that can be used for both eras, and it confuses things. But anyways, I gotta go to bed. I was trying to make this video the last one of the night, trying to get ahead of schedule. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.